All right, there we go. And welcome again to the Sports Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Wilkerson, and I realized today as I was going through Spotify, episode 38, which is crazy. Dang. I didn't realize I had done. I didn't realize, Riley, that I had done that many episodes because of how many breaks I've taken because of life and self.
Right. Yeah, it's the podcast world is very hard to stay on top of things, and I definitely know how that goes because I started a Liberty Flames podcast last spring, and I did a whopping 2 episodes, and that's about how long that lasted. So,
oh man, wait, only 2 episodes? Like, what happened? Did life just get crazy?
The partner? So we had an intern in the sports department. So his name was Will Hayes, and so he had mentioned that he wanted to get more hours. So I was trying to brainstorm some ideas, and I said, and so I suggested the idea of doing a Liberty Flames podcast. Just we talked about football, basketball. We never got into baseball because it was like January, February. And so we kind of just did a few episodes, and then once he got the hour limit that he needed, he kind of just said, "All right, thanks so much for your time," and kind of walked out. So I mean, I was going to continue with it, but thought it would be weird to say that I had a co-host and then move over to just one person. You know what I mean? So
no, it would be interesting. It was like, we just had a falling out after 2 episodes. So
yeah. we just didn't see eye to eye on Liberty on Liberty football. Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah, exactly, man. He disagreed with how much Liberty spent on NIL and decided to quit. I guess that'd be the. But I mean, you must be a happy camper, though. You know what's has been kept up. What is funny about the whole thing is, I was doing some research today, Riley. Florida is the hottest state according to statistics in 2024. It was considered the hottest state in America, and yet the NHL Stanley Cup Finals has been in Florida for the past 5 years. Yes, I know it rotates from team to team after 2 games, kind of like the NBA Finals, but a Florida team has competed for the finals. Tampa Bay, they almost three-peated before the Avalanche stomped on their parade. Now the Panthers, who could have three-peated if it weren't for those godforsaken Las Vegas Knights, but now they're back-to-back champs. And as a Florida Panther fan, I remember last year, you were all over social media when y'all won the first time. And man, the second time, y'all came in pounding. And I mean, they were pounding. Tell me what makes this Florida Panthers offense so explosive? Because y'all were averaging, 4.7 goals per game? Like, y'all scored 28 goals in 6 games.
Yeah, honestly, TJ, I think something that makes this team so unique is how they play on the road. I mean, there was a stat that popped up on everybody's TV screen during that Edmonton Oilers series, who Florida not only beat last year to win the Stanley Cup Final, their first ever in their history since 1993. And then they also beat the Oilers this year. And it felt like the Oilers were a deeper team that was all over the headlines before the series started. But honestly, Florida just played their game. And on the road, they tied an NHL record for most road wins. They went 10-3 during the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. They set an NHL record for the most road goals, 61, and they posted, as you said, a 4.69 goals per game rate, the highest ever by a team that played at least 10 road games. And I'm reading this from an article, but TJ, something that is even better to me than that is it's not only the highest ever by a team that played at least 10 road games. That group includes 95 teams. So there's 95 other teams out there that have played at least 10 road games, but none of them have ever posted a 4.69 goals per game rate. But we also have to thank one player in particular, TJ, that played very well in that series, Sam Bennett. And I'll kind of get to him later. I'm sure we're going to talk about the Conn Smythe Trophy. But
yeah, absolutely.
I also think that what makes this Panthers team so special is they can play a bunch of different types of hockey games, right? They can play the physical battle.
Right.
They can play the defensive game. They can play the offensive game. They can lean on Sergei Bobrovsky to get it done in net. And I think that the Oilers specifically threw a different type of game at them each time they played Florida, right? They tried to play the physical game. That didn't work.
Yeah.
They got beat like 6-1 or 7-1 in that game 3. Then they tried to be physical with the Panthers, and that just doesn't work. They tried injuring guys, and that's never going to work against the Florida Panthers because they're probably one of the most physical teams in the entire National Hockey League. And also, like, somebody told me this during the Stanley Cup Finals. One of my good friends, Noah Richter, don't know if you know him, but he's a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, and something he said to me is you have two types of goalies in the playoffs. One, you have a guy that's experienced, that's a really good goaltender, just stands on his head when the most important times come, and that's exactly what Sergei Bobrovsky does. He didn't look great in the regular season. He didn't look awful, but man, did he look great in the playoffs for a 36-year-old Tendy. And then you have the other side. You have Calvin Pickard from the Edmonton Oilers, a guy that really hasn't seen a whole lot of time in the National Hockey League. He's kind of been back and forth in and out of the league, and they called on his number when Stuart Skinner just didn't meet the quota per se. And he played well when he went in the game. I believe that was game 5 when Edmonton won. And so there was the other side of the coin of Calvin Pickard, a guy that hadn't played necessarily a lot, that kind of just went on one of those magical runs. He was, I believe his final numbers, he was 7-1 in playoff games that he either started or went in to play. So that's kind of a cool little statoid for a guy that kind of was overshadowed by Stuart Skinner for the majority of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I mean, this feels good. It doesn't feel as good as the first one for me because, you know, the emotions were there. That team was a Cinderella team. I don't think a whole lot of people thought that they were going to do it. The entire talk of the town was Edmonton this, Edmonton that, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. And honestly, for 2 years in a row, the Florida Panthers did a great job of taking both of those two tremendous hockey players away. So, and I also have to tip my cap to Paul Maurice. I mean, that guy's one of the best coaches in the entire NHL, and I'll kind of touch on a couple of facts that I've been reading about him as of late. But, man, what a coach, what a guy, and what a culture that the Florida Panthers have built there down in Sunrise, Florida. So, man, I love it.
It's a great culture down there. The Florida Panthers, I think what's so different is they got more offensively skilled. They went into free agency. They added a bunch of guys because, like you said, last year was a Cinderella team. It meant more, but this year it was like they were expected to come in and just dominate, and dominate they did. Now, the Oilers were definitely in there for within the first 4 games, but then obviously you look at the last couple of scores, and it's just Panthers all over the board. I tuned in for game 6 right around the 3rd period. And looking at the score, I was like, oh, yeah, the Panthers have this. And at that point, I was just like, all right, well, back-to-back titles. I know Riley's happy. And if I'm not mistaken, like, this would be the 9th time that an NHL team has won back-to-back Stanley Cup titles, because Edmonton used to do it all the time back in the 90s. But now they're like the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. They haven't won since the 90s. So,
yeah. So this is this is another little stat that I found. The Panthers became the first franchise in 33 years to win each of their first 2 Stanley Cups consecutively, and 7th in NHL history. They joined the Islanders, who won 4 in a row in 1980, 1981, 1982, and 1983. So that would be like the next feat for the Panthers to, you know, try and surpass, which, I mean, that's just tough in today's hockey world. And then everybody else after them have two-peated. The Penguins, the Oilers in 84 and 85, the Flyers, are the Red Wings, and the Ottawa Senators. And then I don't know why I don't see the Tampa Bay Lightning on there, because I think they did it in 2021 and 2022, I believe. I can look that up real quick. Don't quote me on that, but
right.
And then just something else I wanted to point out too, TJ, is I posted this on my Instagram story the other day, but Something I think that's like really cool is that Paul Maurice is the first head coach / manager in the MLB, NBA, NFL, and NHL history to win multiple championships after winning none over his first 25 seasons of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that tremendous? Like he was a very good coach in Winnipeg, and he just didn't have a whole lot to work with. And Bill Zito's like, hey, we're going to extend all the guys that we want to keep in the Panthers hockey culture: Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad. Like the DNA of this Panthers front office is extend the guys that are having success here for a dollar amount that makes sense, and pick up guys on a 1-year, 2-year deal in the offseason that fit the culture. These guys that are in the front office for Florida, they are looking at these guys over the entire season. This isn't just like let's go and get Connor, like just for example, let's just go and get Connor McDavid because we feel like it. No, this is like small moves that end up paying dividends. When AJ Greer played in the playoffs this year, the Panthers are 13-1 all time when he's playing in a playoff game.
Sheesh.
And I mean, that fourth line was the enforcing line, Tomas Nosek, AJ Greer, and Jonah Gadjevich.
Yeah.
And those aren't big names by any means, but they were important to the team, right? Like when you needed to, like a big thing in hockey is make your presence known early on. Like finish your check is what a lot of coaches say. And that's what the fourth line did. They would make sure that you knew they were there so that when you think you have time and space, you really, like later on in the game, you're like, oh crap, I don't have a whole lot of time and space because it's all being taken away after the play or after the puck goes off my stick. So I think the Panthers paying attention to the little details really helped them get through the Stanley Cup playoffs. And honestly, I think their most difficult series was against Toronto when they went down 2-0. And those were 2 of their road losses were against Toronto. Isn't that amazing? In the second in the quarterfinal series, they lost 2 out of 3 of their road games to Toronto. And I mean, the rest is history. I mean, that's all I can say. But man, what a time to be a Florida Panthers fan. What a time to be a South Florida hockey fan. I mean, ever since 2020, it feels like a dog's been in the fight in Florida. So, but and then just one more stat to throw at you.
Like we said at the beginning of this show. Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say. Sorry, it's like really small on my phone because the stories of, how like they populate and go away after 24 hours. But the Panthers led in the Stanley Cup final for 255 minutes and 49 seconds. That's the most by any team in NHL history. Again, I'll read that again. 255 minutes and 49 seconds, the Florida Panthers led the Oilers in the Stanley Cup final. The most in NHL history. That's just good coaching, good culture, and guys on the team worrying about others getting the points and not necessarily themselves. I think a great example is when Sam Reinhart got 4 points in the Stanley Cup in the last Stanley Cup final game. Barkov, knowing in the back of his head that Reinhart needs one more goal for a hat trick, he gives up the puck. Barkov has a clear sheet of ice in front of him to put the nail in the coffin, and he feeds a cross-ice pass to Sam Reinhart, and Sam Reinhart scores. It's just that we first mentality for the Panthers, and that falls on Paul Maurice and then Barkov and then the rest of the captains. And it's just awesome to see as a Florida Panthers fan, and really just as a Christian guy. I feel like that's such a lost art in today's world of putting others in front of ourselves. And I just think the Florida Panthers do that, honestly, as good as any other team does in the entire league. So,
how close are we to seeing the Panthers potentially three-peat is the question. Could we see a three-peat with the Panthers? Are they expected to keep most of their guys? What's the salary cap
TJ,
over there?
it's only been about 48 hours, so I will say, like,
Yeah.
let me enjoy this one a little bit more before I answer that. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I think anytime you have Bill Zito as your GM and all those guys in the front office doing what they do, scouting guys out, I think you have a shot, right? And
Right.
I just think that Florida, like, they're so timely with their extensions, right? Like Brad Marchand and Seth Jones coming over, I was like, oh boy, Brad Marchand's 37. He's on the latter part of his career. Seth Jones, not a phenomenal defenseman from the Chicago Blackhawks, but both of those guys fit in well with the systems that the Panthers run.
Yeah.
And Brad Marchand was second in Conn Smythe votings with 7. And then ultimately Sam Bennett took it with 11. But I think as long as Bill Zito is the GM and he's making the smart one-year deals with enforcers and with guys that are proven, and just as long as Barkov is there and Paul Maurice, the culture's always going to be at an all-time high. And why not, TJ? I mean, I think as of right now they can three-peat because there's not another team in hockey that really has the depth that the Florida Panthers have. Like, there were guys like Jesper Boquist and Nico Sturm, like guys that could have played in the Stanley Cup final and done just as well as any of the other guys on that fourth line. Whereas Edmonton, like, they kind of really had all their eggs in their basket per se for in terms of their lineup. Like, they didn't have much more depth, and Florida had depth for days. So
it's a perfect way to describe it.
It's definitely possible. So
I'm glad you brought Brad Marchand up. I feel like a change of scenery. Now he finally has a Stanley Cup. What did you?
The rat himself, baby.
The rat himself, baby. And sometimes maybe it's just the change of scenery that per se. But Brad, what do you feel like Brad Marchand brought to this team? I know you were worried about it because he's 37 years old, and like football,
right.
NHL, hockey, all of it. Hockey breaks down your body. Like, it's amazing that Ovechkin. AO, that's what I'll call him. AO from the Capitals, being nearly 40, has lasted for as long as he did, and now, according to Vic Morin, who used to work for ESPN, does the NHL wraparound podcast, people he's talked to, says that Alex wants to stay until he breaks like the 1,000 points record. Point being, though, Brad Marchand comes in, and you're not sure what he's going to contribute, but he's been one of those guys that it's like, hey, he's got to win a Stanley Cup if he wants to keep his legacy. He's got a decent legacy, but no championship, which is kind of what people are worried Connor McDavid could fall into if the Oilers don't pull anything out. What do you think Brad Marchand brought to the Florida Panthers outside of veteranship?
Honestly, I'm going to kind of repeat what Matthew Tkachuk said during an interview that I heard. I think it was after Game 2 or Game 3 on the Florida Panthers radio network on Spotify. And I think Tkachuk kind of just summed his game up in one word, and that was anticipation. I think in a 1-on-0 scoring opportunity, I think you have to anticipate where the goalie's going to go. And if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, there's not much you can do. And Brad Marchand did that at an all-time high during the Stanley Cup final. But also, like, I believe it was Game 5 on the road. Brad Marchand, opening faceoff, he scores 10 seconds into the game because he's anticipating where the closest defender is going to be, and he just skates right around him. It's all that off-season training he does. It's him being 37 years old, wanting to play for a very long time. And I think Tkachuk thinks he could play till he's 47. I mean, both of the oldest guys on the team, being Sergei Bobrovsky and Brad Marchand, they treat their bodies so well, TJ, that they could both play until they're about 45. That's just my opinion. They could kind of be like the next Ichiro Suzuki if we were talking MLB. But just the wear and tear those guys have taken and the way their bodies have responded has been great. And again, I just think Brad Marchand's anticipation and really his line mates, I think, elevated his game. Anton Lundell, a Barkov type of player, a defender first and an offensive player second. And Lundell and Etluosterinen was also another big reason why Marchand did well. So I just think the way they cycled the puck was so good. And honestly, a lot of NHL teams would pay to have that core of guys as their third line. And because throughout the playoffs, the number one line for Florida was Barkov, Reinhart, and Rodriguez. And then their second line was Kachuk, Bennett, and Verhaeghe. Like, that's a crazy top six. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then to have that as your third line, to have Brad Marchand, a guy that won the Cup in, I believe, 2011 with Boston. I mean, come on. Bennett and Marchand hated each other when they played together. Remember they got into a fight
I read about that.
in the Four Nations face-off? Like, both those guys put that behind them, and Marchand and Bennett were like the best of friends when they played together. Again, TJ, it goes back to the culture thing. And Marchand and Bennett, they have bought into that culture, and I think that's why the Lorax, that's what I call Sam Bennett, the Lorax. I think that's why the Lorax is going to get an extension, and I hope Brad Marchand does too, because boy, would we be happy to have him here in Florida.
Absolutely. Keep him as long as you can. Briley Klingman, by the way, joining the podcast for those listening on Spotify, where you can listen to this podcast, soon to be on Apple Podcast. Briley Klingman, GSA this upcoming year for Liberty. He'll be working alongside men's hockey again. He's currently a writer for Fansided for the Marlins. And I was watching this clip yesterday, by the way, where the Marlins were playing the Phillies. Yeah, the Marlins were playing the Phillies. And I'm surprised how empty. I know the Marlins haven't been the best recently, but the emptiness of the stadium I saw in the clip shocked me to the point that someone yelled, "Free Castellanos!" And even the broadcast booth from all the way up heard it. And it was like, wow, okay. I didn't realize that the Marlins were struggling to bring in fans right now. So,
I mean, when you're in the middle of a rebuild with a new president of baseball operations, a guy that's trying to kind of cut the Marlins ties with a bunch of Major League Baseball players and bringing in a bunch of minor leaguers. And I also think the location of the stadium just isn't great. You know, I mean, I'm not one to advocate for a move, because whenever I go down to South Florida, I love to hit a Marlins game and then a Panthers game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to try to make that happen. But it just kind of, I don't know. I think the location obviously has to do something with it. The performance on the field has something to do with it. The success of the team has something to do with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, if the Marlins can take anything from what the Panthers are doing, extend the guys that fit the culture and fit the mold of what you want to do. It's not rocket science, man. A lot of these GMs out there they just make it harder than it needs to be. Extend the guys that fit the mold that you want to build in your hockey team and your baseball team and your basketball team, and then bring in the guys for small deals that fit the culture. And then if they do well, extend them. Like, I don't understand why it's like, I mean, yes, if you have a lot of money, then it's easy, but I don't know why we're making everything harder than it needs to be. So that's just my 2 cents.
You froze on that last part.
GM, but
right. No, you froze on that last part. You were just like, GMs try too hard, it feels like, but they don't just re-sign the guys. What did you say after that part?
Well, I just think GMs like try to make it more than it is. Like, they try to sign the all-star player. Like, I get that. Like, in MLB, that's important. In hockey, that's important. But the Florida Panthers, if we look at their roster up and down, they have a lot of underrated guys that were overlooked at the beginning of their careers. Gustav Forsling with the Carolina Hurricanes. He came over to Florida as a UFA. Florida got him for pennies. This is a defenseman, TJ, that could be an offensive defenseman in this league, but he uses his speed. He could score 60 points a year as a defenseman, which is phenomenal, but he chooses to use his speed to play with guys like Connor McDavid. How many times did Gustav Forsling get a stick in the lane in the Stanley Cup Finals with McDavid, like in a one-on-one opportunity with Gustav Forsling, him and the goalie? And then Sam Reinhart, a guy that played for the Buffalo Sabres, another guy that was overlooked. Florida, again, got him for pennies. And then Alexander Barkov, Aaron Ekblad were drafted in the first round. They weren't sure how they were going to be. They ended up being stars. And, I mean, the list goes on and on. But if you keep guys around for longevity and they really figure out your culture as a GM, like that's, to me, that's the golden ticket of extend guys, keep them around, get them when everybody is overlooking them, and just try to mold them into the player that you want them to be, which is harder said than done. I get it. But I just think GMs need to kind of look at what the Florida Panthers are doing. I wouldn't say replicate it, but replicate it in a way that works for the culture that they've already built, if that makes sense. So
no, absolutely. No, it completely makes sense. The Panthers didn't overshoot. They went for easy guys to get pick up, and it worked out in the end for them. Whereas, like, in the MLB, like, I feel like, especially nowadays, like, I'll take the Pittsburgh Pirates, for example. It feels like after a couple of years, if they feel like their team is going nowhere, they would rather trade away big stars, pick up a bunch of capital with their farm system, but then they do nothing with it. So I think there's a good way to play. I think there's a good way to. Oh my gosh! I can't believe I just hit that. Just smacked my computer. No, but I agree with you. I think there's smacked at the sky high. Oh my god! But no, I agree. I think the way the Panthers handled it compared to what most. I'll take the Buffalo Sabres for example. I think the Sabres overplayed their hand, and it's gotten them into trouble. And there's a reason why the Sabres are a laughingstock in the NHL right now. Whereas, like, you look at what the Panthers did, man. I mean, now you've got 3 title appearances, 2 title wins. And, yeah, I think you hit it on the nail on the coffin, man. The nail right onto the coffin. And just like the Hillcats hit right into a division title the other day, man. Real quickly, what were your thoughts on all of that? Watching the Hillcats go in, dominate the Mudcats in dominant fashion. Like, what are your thoughts as to all the Hillcats hype? And now, playoff spot clinch, we may not have the same players, depending on how the farm system handles it, but overall, Hillcats are in no matter what. What were your thoughts? I never really got to ask you.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool just being because I mean I've only been a staff member for I would say about a month now. I'm not counting like vacation days. I'm just counting days that I've like actually been in Lynchburg on the job. But you know, I went to a couple games last year, and the Hillcats had some pretty big names on their roster. Jackson Chourio, the brother of Jason Chourio, who plays for. Actually, I always get them confused. Is Jackson the one that plays for the Brewers or Jason? I can't
remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up while I'm still chatting it up.
Right, go for it.
Okay, so Jackson is the one that plays for Milwaukee. Jason's the one that plays for I believe he's with Lake County right now as a member of the Guardians organization. For folks that don't know who the Lynchburg Hillcats are the affiliate of. But and then Ralphie Velasquez was also on that team and Angel Hanau. And all those guys are in the top 20 or top 30 in terms of Cleveland Guardians prospects currently.
Yeah.
But Lynchburg this season has none of those guys on their team. And I mean, they have Welbin Francesca and Tommy Hawk. Tommy Hawk is not in the top 30, but Welbin Francesca is. I believe he's a second baseman, left-handed hitter, normally hits 2-hole. But I mean, Tommy Hawk's been great. He's got 60 stolen bases. And then I just think that the consistency of the lineup. I think Steve and I, we kind of put our heads together. We were talking about the Hillcats one day, and I had kind of mentioned like, hey, you know, I think the reason why the Hillcats have had so much success is because they've had the same lineup day in and day out, and guys kind of get a feel for where they're hitting and where they're playing, and I think consistency has been a huge factor. But I also think the pitching staff has really done quite well under Jordan Smith and his coaching staff. I think they finally have a lot of arms in there that they can rely on in some high danger situations. And I honestly think the offense did enough as well to not really have to tax the pitching staff either from a bullpen perspective, because there were a lot of games last year where a starter would go 3 innings and then the bullpen would go the rest of the way. And that's just taxing for a bullpen. And I think the Hillcats have been able to have that luxury of having their starting pitchers as of late go 4, 5, 6 innings and give them quality outings. Guys like Rafe Schlesinger and
Sean Matson.
Yeah, Sean Matson.
Melquise Hernandez.
Yeah. Who was that really good pitcher? His last name was Gonzalez. Was it Yoli Gonzalez or Yanni or something like that?
Holy Gonzalez, like Jogly. Yeah.
Yep, Holy. He's a very holy man. But no, I think the Lynchburg Hillcats have just, like I said, they've just been more consistent. The lineup's been consistent. The defensive play has been consistent. The Hillcats have always been a base stealing team, but this year it just feels like they're just seeing pitchers better. They're seeing them well. Really, Tommy Hawk's seeing them well because he's got about half their stolen bases. But I thought it was cool. First time since 2022 that they've made it to the playoffs. And hey, I'll always take getting paid a little bit longer to work playoff baseball. You know what I mean? So
amen.
That's also really cool. So
amen to that, man. That was a fun experience for me. I don't think I've seen a minor league baseball baseball team playoff game since the Carolina Mudcats way back in the day when Lee Mitchell and Gabby Sanchez and them were there.
Right.
And that was the last time I'd really worked for a team or seen a team consistently that ended up making the playoffs, because when I grew up, we saw the Carolina Mudcats or the Norfolk Tides. And the Norfolk Tides are in the Durham Bulls division. Durham Bulls have always been a good team for the most part. Norfolk Tides, they just started getting top prospect teams. They're AAA league, but it's
good old Baltimore.
It was pretty fun. Yep. Exactly.
Well, and also, TJ, I think something else that was cool about the Hillcats is I don't think a lot of fans that go to those games realize how much it means to the players. That was something that was very surprising to me, is how much it means for those guys, even though a lot of them are probably making what you think 30 to 35,000 for the season. They're not making much to go play baseball. So the fact that it means that much to them, they're throwing champagne all over the place. They're almost dogpiling on the mound. That's so cool. A lot of these guys could be playing college baseball, but they elected to go into the MLB draft. And some of these guys might not ever make it to the big show. So just the fact that it means something to them is just super cool. And also, they did it in front of Fernando Tatis and Luis Morejo Sr., so that always adds a little extra element and flair to how bittersweet that really is. So actually, let me grab something while you're talking.
No, go for it. I was jealous because Steve got to talk to Fernando Tatis, man. I was like, wow, man.
Fernando Tatis Sr. right here, baby.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis. Oh, dude, that's a beauty. For those who are listening to the podcast, Riley has a signed ball from Fernando Tatis Sr. So
he also wrote looks like 4/23/99, and I believe that was the day, because Fernando Tatis is really famous for one big thing. Not trying to demote his MLB career in any way here on the Sports Nerd Podcast, but he's really only famous for one huge thing. And I'm looking up the date right now. I believe that was the day he hit 2 grand slams. Yes. Fernando Tatis Sr. hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning on April 23rd, 1999, playing for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think a whole lot of people understand how hard that is to do. He's the only player in MLB history to do that, because for somebody to come up with bases loaded just once in one game is hard in and of itself. But twice and hit 2 home runs during that moment, this is something I'll cherish for a long time. So very cool moment.
Definitely would case it.
Yeah, very cool moment, once in a lifetime opportunity. And let me tell you, TJ, That guy is like all of 5'9". Like when he stood up, I was like, how is this the guy that hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning? He was like a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He was like Zacchaeus from the Bible.
I love that.
So,
oh my god.
So.
Oh my gosh, dude. Well, I thought that was awesome too. And then they wrote a story on Luis and his dad being there, because originally I was going to go and try and get an interview with him for VTR in Sports, which I intern with right now. And they said, his father's here. He might not have time. Yeah, that's with Ed Lane.
Okay, very cool. Ed Lane in the fast lane or something like that.
Ed Lane in the fast lane with Ed Lane. So, yeah, that's exactly how he does it, man. Like, I think
he should say Lane one more time in that intro.
The fast lane with Ed Lane.
I'm just joking. Lane. Say that 10 times fast.
Oh my gosh. But... No. But but I think it's no, but like I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I can imagine like your dad who's played in the majors is watching you play, even if you're at a minor league affiliate. Like, I can only imagine like what that must feel like. Yeah. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it probably means the world to a guy like Luis Morejo on the Hillcats. And, you know, I think Luis Morejo Sr.'s greatest accomplishment in the majors, or it might have been in the majors or in the minor leagues, but he struck out Sammy Sosa. I overheard one of the Hillcats fans saying that was like his claim to fame, is that he struck out Sammy Sosa. So that's kind of cool.
He did. I think Steve had mentioned that to me. He was like, he struck out some of the best guys multiple times. So I was like, well, that's pretty cool, actually. Like, that's hard.
Yeah, that's hard, especially. Yeah, and then it was also cool, like the day that they clinched, you know, there were some representatives from the Negro Leagues there. I don't remember the gentleman's name that was sitting in the chair. Right. Maybe you know what his name is, but he was saying that he played with guys like Satchel Paige and Jackie Robb. Like, it's just so cool to like meet a human being that played with legends like that you and I didn't necessarily get to see on the baseball field. No. But it's just cool to see that there's somebody still around that can tell the tale of Jackie Robinson, who I think is one of the greatest players of all time. And then, of course, he probably saw Willie Mays play, and Satchel Paige was also a great left-handed pitcher. So, I mean, just all around, what a great day for the Lynchburg Hillcats. History was made for them, but there was a lot of history around the ballpark that afternoon as well. It's kind of all bundled up together in one massive, beautiful goodie bag for the Hillcats, winning or making their first playoff since 2022. So,
absolutely, and I think that was the best part of Sunday celebration, even in the pouring rain. Like, it started like becoming Drenchburg all over again. Just watching that celebration go down was pretty fun. But I mean, you want to know, there's massive celebrations, and then there's claps, right? So where am I going with this? Let me explain. Joey, let me add you into the green room. Joey Palermo, if you can hear me, and yep, there he is. Hello, Mr. Hi. Palermo.
Hey, Joey Bagatone, I thought we doing over here. Long time no see.
I love it.
Hey, Joey. Hey, Joey.
What?
Something howitzer.
Did you miss me?
Oh my gosh.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Wow.
Nice to see you there, buddy.
Hey there, bud. Nice to see you.
I've heard the good things about.
TJ, are you still there? Is it just me, or did TJ cut out for you, Joey?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll kill time. How are you, sir?
What's up?
Sorry, TJ. You just cut out for about 15 to 20 seconds, so we missed
Yeah, that's fine. I know y'all were just conversing, but did you get that Drake May, Joey? Good news for you. I don't know if you've heard. Drake May has been looking incredible up there. Now, obviously, it's just training camp, but people are loving what they see. How does that make you feel as a Patriots fan hearing all that?
I think people said that last year about him, and he ended up kind of like looking like super.
Yeah.
All I know about the Patriots right now is that the offseason is what it was, but I don't know. I'm a little concerned about it. I'm not concerned about Drake May. I think he's going to be fine. But what I am concerned about is the fact that one of our linemen that we signed this offseason, Wes Schweitzer, already decided to retire. And he was supposed to be like our starting.
He went.
So
he went the Frank Ragnow route.
Yeah. Joining a long list of people that are retiring from the NFL. Schweitzer was 29, by the way, when he retired. So make of that what you will.
Yeah.
But all that to say, that's one of our linemen lost, which leaves another hole, which probably leaves another free agent to be signed. So up until about 3 days ago when that happened, I was perfectly fine with that. And now I'm just like, okay, it's great and all, but, we're in June. Like this is when the offseason reps really start intensifying. So we're getting to training camp. We're getting to the point in the year where cuts are going to start being made soon. So, yeah, I mean, Drake May should look good against the second and third and fourth teams. But at the end of the day, I need to know it's in the preseason, and I don't know how much preseason time he's even going to get, if any. So right now I'm just kind of, hey, we'll see how he does come August or September, right?
Absolutely. But, Joey, we didn't bring you on to talk about the Patriots yet. I mean, we definitely have a little NFL talk, Jaire Alexander signing Aaron Rodgers. But, Joey, I think you know why we brought you here, right? You know why you're on the show today, what we're going to talk about. Hey, question. So, am I the only one that's curious as to why, Rafael Devers, right? Going to the Giants in his opening press conference, why are people clapping like the airplane just landed after every statement he says?
Just trying to make him feel welcome. I don't know.
Right? I thought that was interesting. Like, here, let me show you. I can't show you, but let me play an example. We all know the debacle. For those who don't know, Rafael Devers, longtime Red Sox, won a championship with them. There was this whole controversy about the Red Sox wanting to move him from his staple from third base to first base and then off of first base to designated hitter. So after all the drama that went down with it, Devers told the press in Boston, no, I'm not moving. I'm not going to be designated hitter. I'm staying at third base. Well, he gets traded to the Giants for a little old haul. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. I'm going to switch. But anyway, I was listening to the video, right? And a reporter asked him about when Chapman, a 5-time Golden Glove winner, that, hey, Giants already got a guy that can play third base. Are you cool moving? And this
Are we good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, you just you just
hear it?
Just cut out. So yeah,
No,
we didn't hear your question
right now.
I don't know. It's going in and out. Well, it's going in and out. But anyway, they just started clapping, right? And Raphael said, I'll just go wherever the Giants place me. So I guess my question will have to be, Joey, how do you feel about Devers now all of a sudden being cool? I mean, I guess for like what, $250 million, I'd be cool too, wherever position that the Giants moved me to. But do you feel like maybe this was all a stunt just to get out of Boston because they couldn't see eye to eye, and now he's finally with a whole new environment, a whole different team? What are your thoughts on it as a Red Sox fan?
My thoughts as a Red Sox fan are I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick of us messing around with our stars, and man. I'm so tired of this. First of all, I want to address the Devers thing. I'm happy for him. Little worried about him playing at a pitcher-friendly ballpark where the Giants are taking up all 9 years of his contract, so they're paying him until he's 36. So hopefully he hits a lot of balls into McCovey Cove. I mean, lefties seem to do well there. I mean, so I'm hoping that Devers does well. I mean, I'm not young enough now to where I can hate a team. Like I will respect teams. I'll root for them. I'll, pull for players. I'll root for them. I've never had any ill will towards Rafi Devers. What I have ill will with is this organization. This goes back 7 years. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, Red Sox fans. You know exactly what I'm talking about, TJ and Riley. You know exactly where I'm going with this. Mookie Betts in 2018 should never have been traded. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows. Even the ownership, the previous ownership, admitted that they made a mistake in later years. Yeah. Never worked out. Okay. Let Xander walk. Why? Because we apparently had a problem, similarly to Devers, with positioning. Trevor Story was there at the time, and there was the issue of playing second base and shortstop and whatever. Trevor Story has since played second base when initially he was kind of hesitant to play short. And Xander is currently, from what I last checked, he's kind of being despised by his Padres fans. So, but they're still paying him like 7-8 years because he made all that money. And then we let Chris Sale walk for pretty much nothing. Traded him for Vaughn Grissom, who has been in and out of the big leagues ever since he came to Boston. He's since been replaced by, I believe, Christian Campbell, who has since been demoted because he's hit under 200 since April. And now we let the last of our championship team go. Keep in mind, Devers wasn't really like starting for them yet. Like he was like 19 at the time when he was on that team, but he's still on the team. Let him go for let's see, a guy in Kyle Harrison who has an ERA of close to 4.5 in his career and currently has been demoted to AAA and may not even sniff the big leagues this season. Jordan Hicks, who, say what you will about his career, they are moving him to the bullpen, which is good for him because that was where he was at his prime, was when he was throwing 103-mile-an-hour sinkers. I hope he does not get his way and ends up being a starter again because that will make the trade seem far less unlikely. And 2 minor league prospects as well. Listen, say what you will about the prospects, right? Roman Anthony got called up. He's hitting under 100 since he got called up. Christian Campbell's under 200 since April, right? Marcelo Meyer's been under 250. It can be what you will. You trust those guys, fine. You want to be the Green Bay Packers, fine. Okay, you want to be a young team that establishes a new identity. That's great and all. But over the past 7 years, ownership, old or new, has done a great job of pissing off the Red Sox fan base. They have no stars today. Their best free agent signing was Alex Bregman, who, guess what, is injured and is out for a majority of the season. So who are you relying on? Yoshida, who you tried to trade away last offseason for reasons? Like, what are we relying on right now? Jaron Duran, he's coming off a rebuilding year. You moved him to left field for some reason, even though he was far better in center. And now you're limiting his athletic ability by playing the monster for half the games. And
go
ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to hit on that Jaron Duran note real quick. I hate to break it to you, but I think he's going to get traded too, just from not only what I've seen, but what my gut tells me. So
Good. Send him
blow it up. That's what Joey Palermo wants.
No, send him to the No, send him to the Braves for 2 minor leaguers at this point. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
Oh,
what I've been
is
seeing is San Diego, but
good.
Joey, you probably had the same reaction that I did when I saw the Rafael Devers trade. Literally, there was a couple words that popped into my head. What in the hell are the Red Sox doing? That was literally the phrase that popped into my head. Because I completely agree. Like Jordan Hicks, like he throws hard. That's about it. Like seriously, Kyle Harrison he still has a lot to prove. And then the other two guys, like who are they?
I don't
know. I don't really know. Like the Red Sox should have made sure they were getting a lot better return for a guy like that. So I don't really know, Joey. Like I would say I feel your pain, but I don't. I feel it from a different perspective. I feel it from a ownership group that's cheap and a team that probably will never be good until the day I die, unless they relocate. So, but
can I just remind you that the Marlins and Red Sox have as many playoff appearances this decade?
Oh, that's crazy. Well, and also Joey, like let me ask you this: do you think the Red Sox not having a competitive roster has somewhat lost the tension of the Red Sox and Yankees rivalry from old time? Like, I feel like that's not as big as what the Mets and Yankees are now.
So
you know what I
here's
mean?
the thing with the rivalry. They traded Devers the day that they swept the Yankees in New York. This team had 6 of their last 7 games. They had just swept the Yankees on the road. You should have brought that up, man, because that just pissed me off. Like 6 out of 7, they won 6 out of their last 7. They had the best win streak of the entire season, and now you trade them. Now after 2 months of messing around, PG, but messing around third base, and now making this big deal when I thought it was nothing. I told everybody that I knew. I said, "Look, Cora addressed it. They're done. Right? This is a non-issue." Apparently it wasn't, and apparently we're knowing a lot more about the story than I knew, admittedly. But as far as I'm concerned, frick the rivalry at this point. The Yankees are winning the AL East, right? Like who's competing with them? Baltimore, they got the worst record in the AL, not named the White Sox, right? Toronto, are we counting on them for 162 games? Tampa, they're going to win 90 games. That's not going to win it. And then Reds, are you serious? You think Boston's going to make the playoffs after this trade? Trading the heart and soul of your brand, the last great piece of that championship run, and you trade them away for nothing again? Like you just keep taking pieces out of the heart of the team, and to do it in a situation where you're in the hottest spot that you've been in, you're literally the third wild card, and you trade him for nothing. They beat Seattle. I don't know how they keep winning, because they went to Seattle the day after and shut out the Mariners, but the Mariners can't score, so who cares? Frick this team. That's my thoughts on the Red Sox. Frick this team, frick the organization. Alex Cora's got to go. He's platooning the prospects after he calls them up, and they're losing confidence because they can't hit. And then when Cora, benches them, guess what? They're going to lose confidence in that because they're like, oh, I can't hit lefties? Like, what's up, Cora? He's got to go. He's out of touch with the fan base, right? And he's out of touch with the organization, in my opinion. It doesn't look good for Breslow and company. But if you're going to start over, I read a quote. I think it was Ken Rosenthal that wrote an article saying the Red Sox must make the playoffs this year. No, the frick we don't. Okay? We need to find an identity. Because for the past 7 years – or management apparently has done a great job of deciding that we're just going to do something other than win consistently. Do you know, friends, what the Red Sox record is since they won the championship in 2018?
What?
491 and 486. And the only reason that is not right at 500 is because of their recent winning streak. They were exactly at 500 multiple times this season since they won the World Series in 2018. This team is mid. They will continue to be mid. And even getting Bregman, you trade Devers, you get Bregman. So as far as I'm concerned, you're in the same position you were last year, which is they're going to go like 80 wins again, and hopefully Cora gets fired. So frick this team, frick the organization. I hope Devers does well in San Francisco, but I hope the audience got what they wanted out of that.
Man, I just was shocked at I was just shocked at I was just shocked because it felt like the drama settled down. I wasn't hearing anything about this Devers situation, and then the big trade happened, and I was like, okay, maybe there was more going on behind closed doors. They're like, hey, let's the media's hot on our tail right now. Let's calm it down. Let's focus on winning, and we'll go from there. But no, I guess they've been working on a deal. Had a deal in the works for a while.
Honestly, Joey, I don't know if you would believe this, but the Red Sox signing Alex Bregman to me makes it feel like that was always the plan all along, was to get rid of Devers. Because at the end of the day, they should not be sellers. They're still 2 games over 500. They're well in the wild card hunt. And also, I truly believe if the Red Sox would have held on to Devers a little bit longer, traded him more towards the trade deadline end date of July 31st, they would have gotten a seller's market type of return like we saw with a lot of trades last year. But they traded him very, very early. Therefore, they probably didn't get as much as they probably would have from the same San Francisco Giants team that they probably would have if they would have waited maybe 15 to 20 more days. But they decided to jump the gun, and here we are. So you could just give your 2 cents on that if you would.
This team extended Rafael Devers to a 10-year contract last season. In that extension, Rafael Devers said he would do anything for the city of Boston and the Red Sox organization. A lot has clearly changed in a year.
Which is crazy to me.
Like, you can say what you want about the position. Here's what I know. This was reported on since the trade. Devers came into the front office and said, look, if you guys aren't going to treat me with some form of respect, and I'm not exact quoting here, but this is basically what I gathered. If you guys aren't going to honor, respect, etc., then trade me. And, it's 2 months of build, which means a lot had to happen. This isn't just the bridge caught fire and we got to start over. This is the bridge was falling apart and the Red Sox did nothing about it. And, back to your Bregman comment, Riley, when I saw the Bregman signing, I was like, of all the positions to sign, why would we go for a third baseman? But here's the thing, and this is why I didn't make a big mess out of it at the start of the year. Bregman said he was willing to play second base. Alex Bregman, who had not played second base since his rookie year in Houston, said he would play second base to help the team. And apparently Rafael Devers is fine with that. This is on Cora. This is on Cora for DHing him in the first. Because guess what? Devers could have played third, no problem. But you DH'd him.
Yeah.
That is the manager's fault. That is not a Devers problem. People were making a big mess. Oh, he's 0 for his first 4 games. Oh, he has one of the worst fielding percentages among third basemen. He wants to play third, go for it. You are married to him. And now, unfortunately, the Red Sox are once again divorcing one of their best players far too early. What a shame. I have nothing to say.
TJ, you there?
Thomas again.
Yeah, man, it really does suck. If I had to kind of, give you a similar, similar response in terms of emotions that I'm feeling currently, like as of right now, it feels like Miami's going to trade about 6 to 7 players at every single trade deadline for about 10 years. Because that's just what we do. We get prospects, we bring them up to the majors, they play well, and we want to ship them off. I was telling TJ this earlier. If GMs can look at the Florida Panthers as a team and what they do in their culture and how they manage a team, everybody should do it, but they should do it in their own way in terms of replicating it. Get guys that have been overlooked by all the other teams in the league, invest in them, make them fit into the culture that you're building, and then once they're starting to play well and you think that they can play well for your team, extend them, and then in the offseason, sign guys to a 1 year or 2 year deal that fit your culture. But the kicker is with the Panthers is they look at guys for an entire season, not just, let's go get Shohei Ohtani because he's Shohei Ohtani. It's like, no, we want to get all-stars and guys that fit the team and fit the mold. Now, I understand baseball and hockey are different, but to go back to the Rafael Devers case and to really Sandy Alcantara's case, like if you're going to extend a guy for multiple years, like you have to mean it. Like you can't just extend him and be like, oh, a year or two later, we're going to ship him off because we can get some top end MLB players or prospects. Like make it make sense, right? I mean, it's so frustrating that some of these GMs and front office members have jobs when I can be a couch potato and have more wherewithal about what the heck we're doing than some of these Joe Schmoes out there in the world. And for my case, it's Peter Bendix. Like Peter Bendix did great with the Rays. Like, don't get me wrong. But Bruce Sherman isn't willing to spend the money that the Rays were, and the Rays still didn't spend much. Shane Bloom has money with the Red Sox. He spent it on Rafael Devers, and here we are. It's just like all I can say is make it make sense because it's just so frustrating for a fan perspective. And like it's gotten me to the point where like just sell the team. Like it is just not worth the time and the energy to consistently rebuild and lose so much fan attention. It's just, I don't know. It's just mind-boggling to me. So, I don't know. Like
last year, we literally sold the team last season, and that's the other thing is we signed Bregman to a long-term, multi-year deal. This is essentially his last big deal he's going to get, right? We extended Devers last season, right? This is before the trade, but we signed Cedane Rafaela to an 8-year contract when he's not even played a full year in the majors yet. We signed Christian Campbell to an 8-year extension before he even took a big league swing. And then we're going to go out and sign guys that can help a team win now to 1-year deals. Walker Buehler is signed to a short-term deal, a 1-year player option for a 2nd-year deal. Aroldis Chapman, because God forbid we haven't seen enough teams try Aroldis Chapman for 1 year. We thought that he would be the answer. Not that he's been terrible, but the Royals tried it. The Pirates tried it. There's been a bunch of teams that have tried the Aroldis Chapman experience. He's at this point in his career, he might as well be lefty Craig Kimbrell with the way how inconsistent he's been.
Oh gosh,
you've got so many pitching wise, you're married to short-term deals, and the guys you extend, Brian Bayo, how's that working for you? He's got a 500 win-loss record in his career with an ERA near 5, and we extended him long-term. Genuinely, the only guy that we haven't gotten rid of that we really should have a long time ago is Trevor Story, because this idiot can't stay healthy for more than 100 games. And when he does, he hits 220. But there was a month stretch where he was statistically the worst player in baseball. So no, the Trevor Story experience has not worked out. And I find it just baffling. Like we continue to find ways to lose money despite the fact that we seemingly are getting rid of payroll and getting rid of some of the biggest contracts. So I must ask, what are we doing? Because I am sick of this. At least New England has a future ahead of them. Celtics, okay, maybe Tatum Tatum is out a long time, but at least that team can be competitive in the East. I can't say, the Bruins, I don't want to talk about it, but even so, right?
Brad Marchand, baby.
how am I supposed to get excited about the Red Sox right now? Like, in what aspect of the game, what aspect of baseball am I supposed to get excited about the Red Sox right now?
Garrett Crochet. That's about it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in a radio station, right, that covers two really exciting teams out of three. The Cardinals, who are, playing above their pay grade, I would say, and the Reds, who, are season best, 5 games over 500. They might make the playoffs this year. I also cover the Braves, and I'm sure, TJ, you might want to talk about that. But how am I supposed to get excited about the Red Sox right now? How, as a Red Sox fan, do you care about this organization? If all they're going to do is have stars on their team for 2 to 3 years when they're good, and then trade them for scraps. And then when the scraps don't deliver, how are you supposed to care about the team? And then you've got a fossil in Alex Cora that refuses to know anything about strategy. So no, I hate this team now. How am I supposed to care about this team?
Fossil is crazy.
Oh, man. Frustrated.
Alex Cora, would you like to know,
fan bases right now, man.
Would you like to know something about
my
Alex Cora?
football player Alex Cora right there.
Okay, can I say something? Alex Cora for me, I was proud of this analogy. Alex Cora for me is like a bottle of milk, right? You open it and it's got an expiration date, and when you get that milk for the first time, man, it hits different. Like you have that bowl of cereal for the first time. You get that 2018 experience. Oh, man, Alex Cora's the best thing since sliced bread. Like he energizes the fan base. He's a player's manager kind of thing. Now you look at Alex Cora. Now you look at that bottle of milk. You look at that expiration date, and you're hoping it's good. You're hoping it's good. You see that the expiration date is today. And you're like, okay, I hope I can get like one more bowl of cereal in, right? And you sniff that milk. Oh, man. You ever sniffed sour milk before? Like, it ain't a pleasant experience. And Boston fans, they're smelling the sour milk right now. Alex Cora is past his expiration date. He has to go. And I don't care who you bring in. I'd like to see a Stephen Vogt kind of manager, a player's manager, someone who just retired from the game. But it's the Red Sox, so I don't know. They might call up Joe Girardi again. I don't freaking know.
I mean, you talk about frustrated fan bases. The Braves bullpen is practically imploded on each other. I think with Acuna, ever since Acuna came back, I mean, I guess we've been staying up on track. We've won the past 2 games over the Mets, current division leader. So, and I guess if you're a Red Sox fan, Joey, I guess you can be happy about this, even though they won today, despite the fact that 3 different Angels players homered. Yankees were scoreless for 3 straight games, man. So surely there was a little bit of joy that came out, right?
I can't laugh.
Just a tiny bit, right? Tiny bit.
No, the Yankees. The Yankees are going to win that division, and it's not even going to be
for
close.
Sure.
Like they had a tremendous May, and I don't know if you guys have heard, but Aaron Judge is pretty darn good. So I think, as far as I know, the Yankees got that division, and honestly, at this point, I can't even I hate watching them anymore. Like they just got really good players. At least they keep their stars.
You like jazz?
Chisholm, baby.
Kansas City doesn't. Y'all hear that story?
What story?
The Kansas City story about how he spiked the third baseman and Michael Garcia got pissed.
I did.
Apparently, Jazz likes to create enemies, but
Yeah.
Can't say that's it. He's a former video game cover athlete, Jess Chisholm. That's pretty crazy, that is.
Man, so we practically just had a therapy session here on the Sports Nerd. We let the fan bases of the Marlins and the Red Sox just have it on out. And I love that. That was a pretty good chat for the most part, man. We talked about ownership, but, the Lakers just got bought the other day for $10 billion, guys. The largest in sports purchase history, by the way. It was with the Celtics for $6 billion, but now the guy that owns the Dodgers, the Sparks, a bunch of LA Racing up there, now he's got ownership, a majority stake, by the way, with the Lakers. And he actually bought a minority stake back in 2021. And in that deal, if the Buss family ever ever sold the team, he would get their share. So yesterday, today it was been confirmed that there's been a sale with the Lakers, man. Jeannie will still be running the front office, kind of like what Mark Cuban was originally going to do when he sold his majority stake with the Mavericks. We all saw what happened there. He's practically not even involved. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it's crazy. Well, okay, let me take that back. It's not crazy. It is crazy, 10 billion. That's a crazy number. Crazy, crazy number. But when you've got a team with so much history and so much marketing that goes on with just the Laker brand alone. I had a friend ask me today, they said, TJ, do you think it was because of LeBron James that the value went up? I said, no, actually. I think because the Lakers are such a big brand. I think because of the history that goes with the Lakers makes the value go up. Plus, I mean, when you live in LA and you think about taxes and everything and all that to go with it, I mean, shoot, that's definitely a high factor. I think if the Celtics, I use this as an example today, Joey, if the Celtics played like had the Charlotte Hornets record, ow, I keep doing that. I keep smacking my damn laptop. Anyway, if the Celtics had the same amount of wins as Charlotte Hornets, they would still have been worth $6 billion, just be off brand alone. So yeah, what I mean when hearing that news today, I was like, I wasn't expecting it. Brand, it's great for the market, so to speak. What do y'all think about that purchase as a whole, though? Like when you see $10 billion just for one team, like surely the eyebrows raise, like the reactions are high. What's going through y'all's mind when you hear Lakers selling for $10 billion, the highest, and it's not even close margin for a sports purchase?
That's it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's it? Is that what you said? That's it?
Yeah. 10 billion.
That's it?
That's it.
What?
Man, I thought it'd be like, I thought you might add a couple more zeros on that, man. That's
a couple more zeros.
Crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know if LeBron's going to fix all that. But no, I think, I mean, shoot. I mean, I'm not going to say we saw this happening in our lifetimes. I mean, I think the last sale was like 79 or something like that. And I believe
79 million back in 1968.
That's correct. I mean, I can't even begin to give a percentage as to how much that's increased. I don't know. I mean, I think my thoughts are like, I think it's certainly a new era in terms of the ownership. And I mean, who knows if it's going to make the Lakers more or less aggressive in free agency trades, et cetera, et cetera. Not just when LeBron's there, but, long-term when Luka hopefully is the face of their franchise. But also it's like, do the Lakers need that much more money? Like, it's not exactly like they're not spending. Like, they just extended Luka. They poured a bunch of money. They're paying LeBron like $44 million as a player option next year, and apparently LeBron's going to take it without a pay cut. So, considering they can pay those two guys as is, I think the Lakers were fine without the sale, and now it just feels like they can go and get a guy on a supermax deal and still be okay. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Lakers fans are happy about it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Joey, I will say this. The purchase itself is historical, and whether or not that changes the pace the Lakers going, with Buss still being a huge part, she's still governor of the team. But like people said, Cuban was supposed to be governor of the team too. So, I mean, with that being said, Riley, I know that you have some things to take care of. Is there anything else you want to add before you have to go?
Just one thing. Florida Panthers 3-peat next season. I'm going to say it right here, right now, a little hot take action. And I'm not going to go as far as they're going to 4-peat like the Islanders, but I will say 3-peat for the Florida Panthers. Go Cats, guys. Thanks so much, TJ, Joey. Hope y'all are doing well, and I'll probably talk to you guys soon. So
heard that. Riley Klingman, ladies and gentlemen, joining the show for a little bit. What a guy that man is, man. I love that guy so much. Ran the light after Josh Lepowski left like a beautiful ran ship. And I mean, I think it's crazy, by the way, Joey. Can you believe that it's called the light nowadays? I still can't believe it's not 90.9 anymore, man. That tears on the heartstrings.
Yeah. What once was, right?
What once was a 30 for 30. A 30 for 30 on 90.9 The Light. What if I told you?
That's your next big project.
Liberty had a radio station. There you go. Next big project. 90.9 The Light. The story. But speaking of, we were talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, by the way. We were talking about the purchase with the Lakers, obviously, just earlier. We were talking about the Stanley Cup, the finals with Riley Klingman, the Florida Panther fan. Writer for the Marlins, he's letting out his frustrations along with Joey, who we brought in here to talk about the Boston Red Sox frustrations. So, Joey, we've talked about the Red Sox frustrations with Rafael Devers. You let it all out. You got yourself quite a piece for a demo. I thought that was really cool. But I will say this, though. We still have one more final stage set for those who don't know. At the time of this recording. At the time of this recording,
it's going on right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pacers, OKC, we could see another champion tonight in another pro league if the Thunder win tonight. Good news for the Pacers. Haliburton was announced that he can play after having MRIs ran. He had a strained calf. Wasn't himself. Only scored 4 points in the last game. Sorry, I got a message I had to look at. I have to say, it's going to be interesting if the Pacers can tie this tonight. If Haliburton comes off of strained calf tonight, cleared to play, manages to get through OKC. OKC has been playing amazing. They've locked up Haliburton. They've kept Siakam as quiet as they can. I think tonight, obviously, I've seen a lot of people. By the way, can we shut down these rumors that this OKC team is doing what KD and Russell couldn't do, but better? And I'm just like, guys, let's be honest here. Y'all weren't there when Russ and KD had to face the dynasty that was the Golden State Warriors. Y'all weren't there when the Mavs were slowly falling out of their prime, but still hot. When the Lakers were still off their championship runs, man, 3 years afterwards, they were still a hot team and tough to get through. The Spurs were still a dynasty. The West was a blazing fire to play in. That today's Western Conference standards, if you win 55 games, that probably didn't even get you a first seed. Man, OKC, though, if they manage to win a title after all this entire time rebuilding, though, I have to commemorate that. I have to commemorate a team that stockpiled picks. And I've talked about this on the show before. But whether you like him or not, whether you think he foul baits like Trae Young and James Harden did, you can't help but deny that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the best players on the court right now. One of the best younger players of our current time right now. And if he wins a championship ring, he's definitely solidified himself as so. But, man, I hate hearing that KD and Russell Westbrook calling that Thunder team terrible, worse than this team, is a reach because I just think the competition was a lot tougher. Whereas this Thunder team, the most I've seen them not have control of their destiny was when they played the Nuggets. And that was an injured Denver Nuggets team that took them to Game 7, and they managed to outlast everybody. Tonight, the Pacers still have a shot, I think. I think there's a lot of factors that got to play in. If TJ McDonald can play like he did the other night, if Siakam gets back up on it, Chet Holmgren and Miles Turner, that battle itself, I think, will determine who wins this game tonight. That's the battle to look out for. Joey, what excites you the most about tonight's game? Do you think the Pacers have a shot to tie it and send us into Game 7? Or are we going to end in a Game 6 finals, kind of like what Jeremy Grandison himself, the guy out of ESPN Charlotte, a good friend of mine, came on here on the show and said, this series could end 4-2. It really could. Joey, what's it going to take for the Pacers to make it 3-3 tonight?
Man, I mean, they got to play well for 4 quarters. Biggest problem with them in the first half was they found ways to, I think a Game 2, as an example of this, that's a team that was winning by double digits. Really should have won that game handily. I think Game 4 as well, they were in that same boat. But the turnovers have been a bit of an issue for them in the finals, and it's been an issue for them really all season long. They got to cut down on that, man. I don't know what the magic number is for the Pacers to be under for turnovers, but I think anytime you turn the ball over as much as they are, I think it's between 16 to 20 that they're turning it over per game.
Yeah.
It's just to win against a team like this in OKC that has so much strength, has, they play 11 players. I've just never seen a team that does that. I think more teams should start doing that. I think more teams should start really concentrating.
The Knicks should have done that. Thibodeau should have done that.
Well, Tom Thibodeau only knows how to play 5 players, and that's on it most days. But no, I really
I still cannot believe. I know they got plenty of time, but I cannot believe the Knicks did not have a main backup plan before firing Tom Thibodeau, man.
It's James Dolan. You expect anything different?
I shouldn't be shocked because it is James Dolan. That's the thing. But
hey,
to go to the Bulls,
let me ask you, Cowboys fan,
and go for it.
The Cowboys fan, who's a more irritating owner? Is it James Dolan on the Knicks or is it Jerry Jones on the Cowboys?
No, that's a tough question, man. Oh man,
I know. I'm asking a Cowboys fan
because I feel like I deal with Jerry Jones more, and because I've heard him literally blast the station that proudly broadcasts Cowboy games, that's been covering the Cowboys for years, and he blasted them for the simple question of, "Hey, are you going to put shades in the Cowboys stadium so the sun doesn't affect the game?" I think I'm going to say Jerry Jones is worse, but James Dolan has been a laughingstock since his name was broadcasted to the entire world, man. There's a reason why I think he owns the New York Islanders, too. I'm pretty sure he owns the New York Islanders. No, it's the Devils. He owns the New Jersey Devils.
Same area.
Same area. Well, he owns one of those New York teams. Anyway, I'm going to look that up later. Wow.
Isn't it
Sports
the
nerd,
Rangers?
not a complete nerd. It is the Rangers, the New York Rangers.
Yeah, because they shuffled the deck chairs around in regular season too, didn't they?
Yeah. I'd say Jerry Jones is more annoying. But you can laugh at James Dolan, and you can more than you can get angry with James Dolan. But I'm not a Knicks fan, but whereas like with Jerry Jones, I can laugh after like venting frustration and letting out a little bit of tears. You know, when it comes to Jerry Jones, and even Cowboys beat reporters like Clarence Hill Jr., who a beat reporter for the Cowboys. I see him on Twitter all the time roasting Jerry Jones. Hasn't had his credential taken away, and I hope he never does, man, because he does a spot-on job. Hopefully we'll get him on the show one day. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But, oh, my gosh. Well, we got off track, though. Joey, what's it going to take for the Pacers, man? We went from football to hockey to Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks and James Dolan. But what's it going to take for the Pacers to win Game 6 tonight? If Burton is not available, well, he is available, but if he's not himself, who's got to step up? If not Pascal Siakam, you know? Maybe TJ McDonald has a 40-point night. Jalen Williams had a 40-point night the other night for OKC, so maybe it's time for the Pacers to have a guy that step up and do it. Maybe it's TJ McConnell's night. Who knows? I'm excited for tonight's game, though. I will be eyeing it.
I have a not as passionate of a rant, but a rant to have. This is on the media, and before we say anything, this is not the rant you think it is. So I made a post about this on my Twitter page, Joey Claremont 95. I am very disappointed in the journalistic side of things, this NBA Finals. Again, not for the reasons you think. Here's the thing, right? After every game, except for I think Game 5 and Game 4, which Game 4 had its own stuff, which I won't get into. But here's the thing. After Game 1, the focus was on the Pacers offseason. I saw articles about what were people talking about the next day on the NBA Finals. It wasn't about the Thunder win, or it wasn't even about the Pacers win. It was about the offseason that they had. I remember seeing that. So already discrediting the Pacers, right?
Yeah.
Thunder win Game 2. Do you remember the story that Shams broke before Game 3?
The story? Oh, what was it? It was about Kevin Durant, wasn't it not?
Nope, not KD. Although they put again, this is not about ESPN. Like we could have a whole conversation about them, right?
Right.
About them. This, like, I understand I'm talking about Shams, who works for ESPN now, but he posted an article before. This is on the pregame show for Game 3 about Miles Turner in the offseason and how the Pacers might have a problem.
You know what? Yeah.
The Pacers might have a problem paying Miles Turner in the offseason. Do you think they care about that? Do you think the Pacers fans really give a crap about paying Miles Turner right now? They got to win they're trying to win their first finals in franchise history. And all people can care about is what is the Pacers team going to – again, I'm not placing this on ESPN, although they're a big reason why I'm talking about this. But it's – what are the Pacers going to do after the Thunder beat them is the vibes that I'm getting from this series. Because let's be honest here. The Pacers have not and will not be the favorites to win this series, even if they win tonight. There is no way they are the betting favorite for Game 7. And people will still continue to doubt them. I had my doubts about them all postseason. Oh, they can't beat the Celtics. Oh, they can't. Yeah. Cleveland's got the best record in the East. Oh,
I don't know, man. I heard, and I kind of agreed. I said if there's one team to give the Celtics issues, problems, I think it would be the Pacers because, number one, the Celtics always struggle to play the Pacers. Always.
The Pacers didn't beat the Celtics. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
The Knicks.
But I'm just saying, like,
how could I forget?
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. I was about to point that out later, but no, like, but if the Pacers had faced the Celtics, Pacers would have probably given the Celtics a run for their money or upset them had the Knicks not. I heard about all that. But I did hear a lot of doubts about Cleveland, about the Pacers beating Cleveland. And then it happened. It was like, oh, that was a fluke. Cleveland just doesn't know how to play in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell, this, that, and that. Yeah, I think since the finals matchup was announced, and I feel like Adam Silver is angry that the coverage for it has been weird, but I mean, he's played a part in that because, number one, you turned some fans away with the weird graphics. Like, let's start with the 3D screen of the finals logo that's not even painted on the court, but you had to legit project from a projector to where when players walked by it, it phased out. And immediately fans are like, what the hell is this? Why does it look like that? So I just feel like the NBA itself has done a bad job marketing this finals matchup because OKC and Indiana were not big market teams. And now they're both in the finals. And now it's like, oh, wait a second. The Celtics aren't here. The Knicks aren't here. The Lakers and Nuggets aren't here. Okay, I guess whatever. We have no choice. We'll just throw stuff out there.
Well, they have a choice.
And then they have a choice. You think they're going to rig it?
No, freaking. You know, the whole story, the whole finals has been a meme when it hasn't been talking about the actual pregame, game, and postgame. Like,
yeah,
the meme is like the Thunder and Pacers just had a phenomenal game too. And the first thing that NBA fans have when they tune into First Take is, oh, but LeBron is the second greatest athlete. Who cares? Who cares?
Dak Prescott's legacy. You got the College World Series.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, in retrospect, that was brought up. Someone asked Dak about his legacy. And he said, I want my legacy to be to win a championship. You know, I want a championship I want to be known to have at least won one championship. So I get why that was the main topic.
Yeah, but what else is he
But then you've got the College World Series, right? Which, by the way, LSU and Arkansas, that was quite a game, man. And I'll play if you're listening to the podcast version.
Sorry, Arkansas.
I'll play. Yeah, sorry, Arkansas. But after a no-hitter against Murray State, they went and choked to LSU. Well, sorry, they beat UCLA after that. But, man, great call, by the way, by Chris Blair. I'll play that on the podcast version. But I mean, you got the College World Series going on. Coastal Carolina could win their second ever. They are a group of 5 team. There's only been like 3 or 4 group of 5 teams that have won the College World Series since 1927. Playing against an LSU team who has the second most will continue to stay second most whether they win or not, because they still have to win 3 or 4 more to catch up to USC. But you've got that going on, right? You've got the College World Series going on. You've got the majors happening, Raphael, Devins, all that happening. Trade deadline happening soon with the MLB. But no, the NBA Finals, by the way. But no, let's make the main focal point. Let's let the main focal point be, hey, Did you hear that one comment Dak made? Let's just talk about that for 45 minutes. And then we may cut to college World Series. We may cut to NBA Finals, you know. And I get it. NFL generates revenue. Talking about NFL generates revenue. You need to talk about the NFL. There's plenty of offseason to talk about, you know. There's a lot to talk about, which Jaire Alexander joining the Ravens. Ravens have 8 Pro Bowlers now on that team, and you hope they can win a Super Bowl, right? Aaron Rodgers, that whole story up until he finally went to Pittsburgh. What can he do over there, you know? Shoot, the Rams, a bunch of players for the Rams went to Maui to go train with retired player Andrew Whitworth. They just came back today. He was on the Rich Eisen show talking about it. So Terry McLaurin contract disputes. The Bengals contract disputes with defensive players. Do they believe that defense wins championships? Apparently not. But, yeah, there's a lot to talk about with the NFL. That generates the most revenue. But when the NBA is starting to get little to less coverage because Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant are not in the finals, that kind of worries me a bit, you know? And I think that's why sports radio is so important, because what television isn't willing to talk about in most cases, I feel like radio stations are. Radio stations are willing to highlight these events, man. For some of them, it's what they have to cover because that's in their region, that's in their city. That's what their show's about, you know? So, and we're talking about radio dying. AM radio's in trouble right now because of Congress. But yet, I feel like I'm finding myself listening to sports radio more. Maybe because I work for a radio station, and Joey, you run like 6 different stations in Cookeville, Tennessee right now. As sports director. But I find myself listening to sports radio more. I listen to Rich Eisen's show more now. Hey, look, I know Jim Rome's an interesting character, but every day before I work the fast lane, I'm playing Jim Rome's show in the background. You know? I just think that this is why other-centric pieces of media like writing, like radio, are just as important as television reporting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's all. I mean, not everybody watches what I mentioned about First Take and about what is it, Get Up or whatever it's called.
I love the Get Up show too. I love the Get Up, and I love Stephen A. Smith as a character and as an analyst. I think he's darn good at his job. I know he got caught playing solitaire in the stands the other day, and now people are questioning his authenticity and his knowledge of the finals now because he got caught playing solitaire during the action. But I think Stephen A. knows ball. I just think he easily gets offended, like when he attacked John Morant the other day on NBA Twitter, because John Morant was like, wow, the NBA Finals are going on, and you're worried about what the Memphis Grizzlies are doing? You're talking crap about us because we gave Desmond Bain to the Magic for Cole Anthony.
Do you know what he said?
What?
No, do you know what Stephen A. said about that? This is why I know about this. So this became a whole thing.
Go for it.
Stephen A. said last week that basically the reason why nobody wants to play for Memphis is because the city of and keep in mind I live in Tennessee, so I know Memphis is on the other side of where I live. But basically the reason why nobody wants to play in Memphis is because it's too dangerous. When cities like Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago, etc., have more percentages of crime than Memphis does. But I digress.
Fayetteville, North Carolina is more dangerous than Memphis.
Exactly. And that's when Ja tweeted that. Ja said something to the effect of, because Ja basically said what I've been saying, which is, hey, stop trying to talk about us. Worry about what you're actually paid to talk about, which is basketball on the court, not off the court. And then Stephen A. makes a big deal about it. And then the mayor of Memphis got involved. The mayor of Memphis issued a statement yesterday saying we have
really. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, no, he released a statement.
Oh,
can I pull? Let me pull it up.
Go for it. Go for it. Oh man, I think though, while you do that, just because I'm interested to hear this now, Desmond Bain to the Magic though. I think
have it.
I think that's a good move. In all honesty,
yeah. Do you do realize the Magic paid 4 unprotected first-round picks for Desmond Bain?
They're in win now mode, man. I mean, the Grizzlies. Everyone's trying to go the OKC route on the Grizzlies side of things, and then you got the Magic. They're like, we got Banchero, Wagner, Suggs, all these guys now. We got to win now. Maybe Desmond Bain is that piece. I mean, if you think about it, we're to the point where we're going to see more players in Desmond Bain caliber probably traded for a handful of first-round picks. But what you've got you got what the mayor of Memphis said. What did the mayor of Memphis say? Because I didn't see this, and I'm curious now.
This was a statement he posted. This is a statement Tuesday. Stephen called us. This is Paul Young, the mayor of Memphis. Stephen called us a great sports town. Facts. Best fans in the game. True. People of Memphis unmatched. But what he is missing is that crime is down significantly in 2024 and 2025. We're not just talking change, we're delivering it. Memphis is rising, and we've got the numbers and the heart to prove it. If Jimmy Butler, that's one of the players that Stephen A. mentioned, or anyone else is unsure, come see for yourself. And Stephen will welcome you here anytime. Just don't bet against us. Memphis doesn't stay down. Big shout out to all of the Memphians, I think is how you pronounce that, and Ja Morant for jumping into the mix today. Sure. Ja repping his city like that shows exactly why he's one of us. His greatness is undeniable, but it's his heart that makes him Memphis. I should also point out that within the last week, Stephen A. has clamored on First Take for the Grizzlies to consider trading Ja Morant when Ja Morant has basically a supermax deal, so it will be nigh impossible to get anything that is remotely close to his value in return. Stephen A. then quoted that tweet and said, hey, you want to invite me anytime. The point is, this sports journalist is talking about running for president and beefing with mayors in the year of our Lord 2025 when he should be focusing on the game of basketball. And it's not just him, but he is the most prominent figure, and he's out playing solitaire when a lesser journalist would have been fired over that. That's all I'm saying.
No, you're right. You're right. Or like that student reporter that for Florida, she got berated badly, man, and I mean badly. Oh, yeah, I think about that. But you're not.
I don't know about this.
So what?
I don't know about this.
What?
I did. The student reporter. I don't know.
There was a student reporter for the Florida Gators. I remember when it came out because everybody berated her, and rightfully so. You're not supposed to cheer in the press box, by the way. When you're a reporter, it doesn't matter if you're reporting, if you're a beat writer, student reporter, whatever, you don't cheer in the press box. But she made the mistake. I mean, she got excited, made the mistake of cheering for Florida as soon as the confetti came down, and she got blasted online. I believe Barstool got involved and was like, wow, that's unprofessional, or which it is, but I don't think the girl ended up getting death threats over it. I thought that was weird. But sports journalism's taking a turn, man. It's taking a turn. It's interesting to see how quick the tables are turning around all of this too. But we digress. Let's finish up the show with this. How do you feel about Jaire to the Ravens? We mentioned that today. I mean, the Ravens surely are in win now mode. We talked about the Magic. They are definitely in win now mode over in the NBA. I guess they feel like now's the time or it's never. We don't have time to rebuild. We don't have time to keep on drafting young and eventually win. But now you look at the Ravens. Ravens signed Jaire for cheap. Lamar Jackson, Jaire Alexander, former Louisville teammates now reunited. I think the Ravens have built a team that you have to hope would win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust for the Ravens this year, I think.
Man, we've been saying that every year for the past 4 years.
Yeah, I know.
But I understand. Like, hey, maybe Jaire makes that defense better. I mean, really, the only reason why his last couple years in Green Bay ended up what they were is because he was injured. I mean, he's still an all-pro on the field, and he shuts down a receiver one. And I mean, also think of the division that he has to. Some of the guys that he has to compete with. I mean, Justin Jefferson, like right away, is who I think of. Not to mention Amon-Ra St. Brown. And, of course, Keenan Allen's a receiver one. I'm not sure if he guarded him last year. But point is, the NFC North's got a lot of very boastful receivers that I'm sure will take pride in being called receiver ones. And so he'll have that advantage in the AFC North. And I immediately think to the Bengals matchup when, you got Marlon Humphrey and Jaire Alexander against Jamar and T. Higgins. And I think that's the first matchup that I look to anyway, that I'm sure would be appetizing for the Ravens, and maybe that's a big reason why they did that. Now, I'm in the camp, and this may be a bit of a hot take, and you kind of alluded to this, TJ, earlier about the Bengals, but I'm not high on them this year. I understand that Shamar Stewart is not the only first-round pick that is yet to sign. I know Travis Hunter hasn't signed his contract, among other guys. But here's the thing. Shamar Stewart's holding out. And it's one thing to not sign your contract. It's another thing to hold out. It's another thing when you're a rookie holding out and you don't have that money. I mean, Shamar maybe does for NIL and whatever, but that's beside the point. This is unprecedented, what's happening right now in Cincinnati. I don't think I can understate this enough, because their two best defensive players are arguably him, Shamar, and Trey Hendrickson. And somehow they managed to piss them both off in the span of a month. And Trey,
Jermaine,
as far as I know, now the report last was that contract negotiations have resumed between Trey and
Hendrickson. Yeah, I've heard about that too.
How much leverage there is in that, I don't know. But what I do know is this. The Bengals are two pass rushers. I couldn't name you a soul that's on their defense right now aside from them. So here's my hot take is the Bengals are missing the playoffs, as far as I know. As of June 19, 2025, in my opinion, the Cincinnati Bengals are not making the playoffs. But anyway, back to Jaire. Jaire helps with a lot of matchups. I think the AFC North, Pittsburgh is what it is. Like, cool. I'm sure Rodgers can throw to his 18 wide receivers. Like, that's great. Good for him. DK and, I mean, who else is really getting the football?
Calvin Austin. I think Calvin Austin will bloom this year.
Yes. The guy who the Ravens really circled on the calendar, Calvin Austin. And then the Browns, who...
That's right. Oh, dude, come on. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I that was kind of it. The Browns are, well, you know.
The Browns are all but done. I mean, the Browns are literally 5 quarterbacks, 7 running backs in right now. Obviously, a couple of them will be cut. Oh my gosh, my voice like squeaked there. I don't see them cutting any of the rookies. I don't see them cutting Shadur. I mean, they've practically plastered
even after getting cited for going over 100 miles an hour.
Unless they do what the Las Vegas Aces did and plaster Caitlin. Oh my gosh, 100 miles an hour. Yeah. Not the smartest thing in the world, but at least he didn't hit anybody, which certain other players, both former and current, can't say. We digress on that. But unless the Browns are treating Shadur Sanders like they did like the Las Vegas Aces did Caitlin Chen, where they posted her everywhere, right? She was Paige Becker's teammate, the Asian girl out of Harvard that was really good. She came to UConn and she helped them win the chip. They plastered her all over social media, and the next thing you know, when the official roster came out, she was not on the roster. They had cut her. So unless the Browns do that with Shadur Sanders, use him him for off-season spotlight attention, and then less like he gets another ticket, right? And they just go, Shedeur, this is the second time too many, and they just cut him. I don't see him cutting Dylan. I don't see him cutting Shedeur. I really don't see them cutting Joe Flacco or Watson. So I think they cut Pickett. Kenny Pickett might get cut, unless they shock me and do cut Shedeur. But I don't know. I don't know about that whole situation.
Yeah, they're in a weird spot right now. Honestly, the guy to make the most sense to cut is Flacco.
They just signed Dylan Gabriel too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, Flacco makes sense, but do you trust Flacco or do you trust Pickett? Is the question.
Oh, I'm not even counting about trust. I'm counting about in terms of like what would make the sense in terms of what they lost. Like they just picked up Flacco on a 1-year deal, so he's probably he didn't get a signing bonus, so you can cut him. By trading Kenny Pickett, you're essentially forfeiting DTR and a pick for nothing. So you're essentially counted that as wasted capital, which it's not uncommon in the NFL, but it would not look great. You can't really get rid of Deshaun because he's in his last year, and they kind of reworked it so that basically after next season, it's going to be a lot easier on the cap when he does get released, because I think it's a matter of when, not if. Dylan Gabriel, you can't really cut because he's a rookie. I mean, that's just not something you cut. You do as a third, fourth round pick. I don't know what round he was. Same with Shedeur right now. I mean, I've seen rookies do far more. The one lineman, Laramie Tunsil, you remember that draft incident? It was like 5 years ago where he was smoking.
He was caught with the gas mask and the beaker. Yeah, the beaker.
And his stock declined.
He was caught doing pot. Had a picture of him doing pot, and he fell deep in the draft.
And look where Tunsil is now. So
the highest paid offensive lineman for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah. Point is, I don't think Cleveland can really do anything. The most sensible choice would be to cut Flacco, but you kind of need veteran leadership on a team that's not going to have Deshaun. So the Browns have too many quarterbacks and not enough good ones.
Yeah, that's perfect. The perfect way to describe it, man. Hey, look, plenty of NFL coverage to talk about as the offseason goes on. Personally, I think Rodgers – I will say this before we try and close out the show here because we've gone long, but I do think Rodgers, if he stays healthy, I don't think the Steelers are going to be completely as bad as people think. But we could see Mike Tomlin's first season under 500. But if they get a good running game going behind Rodgers, because we know that's what he needs to help balance out everything, and I feel like the Jets just had a horrible running game last year, really affected things. But not saying Rodgers isn't to blame either. Not saying that. But depending on how this team, how Arthur Smith and Rodgers coerce with each other, right? Seeing how that works out with them, this Steelers team might not be bad, man. I mean, shoot, if they can fix this TJ Watt situation, because I'm sorry, I don't believe the Steelers are going to drop TJ Watt until I actually see it. I was almost fooled by Myles Garrett actually leaving Cleveland, and it didn't happen. I wasn't fooled when Max Crosby was supposedly going to leave the Raiders. So I think the Steelers and TJ Watt will find a deal. I'm currently writing an article right now about the whole Bengals situation there. Defense wins championships, but do the Bengals believe that? And I mean, you and Zach and I were talking Saturday night, and I thought Zach put it perfectly. Look, letting Jermaine Pratt go isn't the worst thing in the world because 100-plus tackler guys that can come in and get 100-plus tackles, they're everywhere. And you never know who's going to step up. Like Dante Fowler went to Washington last year, got 10-plus sacks. Now he's returned to the Cowboys, for example. That's a perfect example right there. it's if they can stay consistent, and there's plenty of defensive guys that you can replace. But I feel like the Bengals, if having the 20th best defense is not going to get them to a Super Bowl, man. And if you lose Hendrickson, if you don't get Shamar Stewart signed, which I think they'll figure it out eventually before the season starts, but if you're having trouble signing your first-round picks or even your second-round pick, because I know Demetrius Knight out of Oklahoma was also holding out a bit. I don't know if he still is. I haven't heard much about him. But I'm just going to say this, man. Bengals got to fix that defense. Look, you put all this money into offense, as you should. This is one of the best offensive calibrated teams in the NFL. But how can you expect to win games when you allow 30-plus points a game and your offense has to score 40 points per game? You want to know how that works out? I'll tell you how it works out. Ask Dallas during COVID year. That didn't work out well for them at all. Dak Prescott, before he got hurt and broke his ankle, was having an MVP caliber season, right? Because they were constantly having to come back down by double-digit points, having to put up 40 a game because the defense couldn't hold anybody, man. Lest we forget Odell Beckham Jr. returning that onside kick for a touchdown for the Cleveland Browns against the Cowboys when they were trying to come back. It's okay because Dallas got their lick back last year. But, excuse me. Look at Tampa Bay defense, 0-3. That defense was a big reason why they won. Look at the Chicago Bears. Lost to the Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning, his first Super Bowl win. Had one of the best Hall of Fame calibrated defenses in there, right? An even better example, right? Trent Dilfer played for the Baltimore Ravens. Hall of Famers all on that defense with an offense led by Trent Dilfer. And they won their Super Bowl over the New York Giants. I'm just saying, man, when you have a great defense, the Rams proved it time and time again. The Bengals cannot keep having the 25th best ranked defense in the league and expect to go back to the Super Bowl. That's all I got to say about that. Right. Excuse me.
The amount of D linemen and the linebackers that the Eagles had last season, they're all young too. Like they're going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
And much like Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
Much like the Thunder, very deep.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the Thunder. Now you're going to see NBA teams go the Thunder route. That's what the Grizzlies' approach is going to be, man. And I guarantee you, Utah Jazz, the Spurs actually, the way they're shopping around picks, man. Look for the Spurs to do that because if they can't get KD or Giannis, look for them to shop around and give up some picks, man, because I'm sure they don't mind giving up a Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey for a bunch of more other first-round picks, man. This is going to be a loaded NBA draft class, and we'll get into that. We'll get into those weeks next week. Look, next week it's going to be crazy. We're College World Series will have started. Coastal Carolina, LSU. By the way, Duke, if you're looking for more like you do on the Sports Nerd, I'll be on the morning warm-up tomorrow with Trey Lyle on VTRN Sports, which you can listen to 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then if you can't make it to the viewing, which, by the way, you can listen on the app, VTRN Sports app, or you can listen to 93.3 FM Lynchburg, 1320 a.m. Ask that smart speaker, VTRN Sports, and it'll play it for you. It's a great show. Trey Lyle does a great job, and I am heavily honored to be able to produce and co-host it with him tomorrow. But we go into that, ladies and gentlemen. Look, it's been a great show. Lakers, yes, please, $10 billion. The question is, will Jeannie Buss be in her spot for a long time, right? Can the Pacers make a comeback and force a Game 7? What is the NBA draft going to look like? Obviously, Cooper Flagg #1, but with all these players talking about being shopped with Ace Bailey's agents represented by his father, really being hard-headed right now with a lot of teams. Where's that going to put him in the draft, Got to keep a lookout for that. Yankees trying to get back into the swing of things. They finally scored after being scoreless for 3 straight games. Will Mike Trout ever win a World Series? That we don't know.
No.
But what we do know is if you've enjoyed the show, and no, Joey said no, so he's probably right. But if you've enjoyed the show like this, thank you for tuning in. And if you're listening to the podcast version on Spotify, thank you for tuning in. I know the stream had a bunch of connectivity issues today. So the stream, it depends on whose point of view you're looking through. But honestly, I think this was a great show. This was a great show today. And we can't wait to have a couple of fun-filled packs. We got a couple of guests lined up for the next few weeks, including, I know we'll have Royal Howell of the Juice Network joining us to talk ACC basketball, SEC, that whole matchup again. With ACC Media Days fastly approaching, we look at what football teams are looking like, pre-ACC Media Days coverage. We'll talk to Royal Howell about that. Karita Parks from the Baltimore Ravens will be joining the show sometime next week. We'll get to hear her side of things about the Jaire Alexander signing, as well as Lamar Jackson, who spoke to the media for the first time since January this week. We'll get her thoughts on that. We've got a lot of stuff lined up. Well, also, we meant to have this interview last week, but things stood in the way. I finally got to sit down and talk to former LCA superstar Zach Rice. He joined the show, and I'm going to post that interview clipping tonight, as a matter of fact. I was going to add it on to this, but with how long this show ran, I think it's just easier to post it by itself. We talked about player mentality when in the portal, and he gave us some great insight about what it's like being in the portal. It's fast, man. You got to be fast in the portal. You got to make your decision quick. Nothing like it was being recruited out of high school. That was a great conversation himself. He told me the best way to lose weight before my wedding. So he gave me a diet plan. You get to see that in the beginning as well. It was just a fun conversation, and the Fran Brown culture and all that, and why it means a lot to him being a part of the Syracuse Orange culture. You'll have to listen to the interview and find out. With that being said, this has been the Sports Nerd Podcast. I was joined by Riley today. I'm being joined by Joey Palermo from Cookeville, Tennessee, the man of the hour, who right now has a little bit of a break, but pretty soon he'll be getting back into the weeds here shortly. Is that right, Joey?
We are, I believe 2 months from tomorrow at the time of recording will be the first day of football in Tennessee. So, of course, I'll be on the call for the games this season, and I will do plenty of shameless plugs when that does happen. But I've got about 2 months until I will start going and continuing my quest for more sports content.
Amen to that. And in the meantime, we'll try and bring you on the show as much as we can. But with that being said, this has been the Sports Nerd Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. We're saying so long, God bless, and good night. And be sure to check out that Zach Rice interview and all of their past episodes that you can catch on YouTube and Spotify and soon to be Apple Podcasts. Good night, everybody.